Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from the sandy shored beaches and palm trees of Salt Lake City,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist,
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Dan.
And that was completely false about Salt Lake City and the palmy... What did you say?
There's no, I don't know.
Oh, my God.
We do have sandy shores.
There are sandy shores,
You don't really
fly-infested sandy shores, but no palm trees that I know of.
No.
Coming up on today's episode, we're going to have another installment of What Mormons Believe.
It's a good one, actually.
Yeah, I'm excited about this
one.
And then, of course, we have our normal routine. We're going to hear a little bit from that nice Pat Robertson again.
I know.
So that's
he is a treat, is what I think.
Yeah, it's just because he's unpredictable.
Yeah, he really is.
Completely unpredictable.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, speaking of unpredictable,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if that was a good segue or not, but atheists seem to be unpredictable to me.
Yeah.
As far as like how far
You never know what
so many
we're
of
gonna
our
do.
atheist brothers and sisters, if we'll call them that.
Sure. Brethren. I prefer brethren and sisterin.
How many of them are so completely willing to be so over the top offensive to believers?
Right.
And a lot of this, we've talked about this before, but it comes in the form specifically of billboards.
Oh, they love their billboards.
Oh, my God.
We've talked about doing a billboard.
I think a billboard is a great way to go.
It's a fun thing to do.
But I think it's about building... I think that we should be promoting ourselves as a group rather than tearing down other groups, personally. That's the way I kind of think.
Are you claiming that somehow there have been atheists who have been naughtily tearing down other people's...
Yeah, case in point. There was a billboard in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, that is apparently coming down in honor of a new billboard about the year of the Bible that the American atheists are going to be running. So I'm sure that... Stay tuned for what that's going to be. But the one that's coming down, it says across the top in big, bold letters, "Slaves, obey your masters." Mm-hmm. Slaves, obey your masters. It's from Colossians?
Colossians is
Colossians?
Yeah.
That's, wow.
The book of the Bible.
The book of the Bible called Colossians.
You know, people from Colossus.
How do I not? Yeah, exactly. Colossus. Colossians.
The Colossus.
It's Colossians. It's Colossians. Colossians 3:22. That is a quote, apparently. "Slaves, obey your masters." But yeah, I don't know. When you put it up in America with that
a lovely
image,
picture.
Dan, look at that. How would you describe that image?
I would describe that image as a terrible,
It's a vintage...
a wrenching...
It's a vintage, I assume,
like an etching sort of thing.
Etching, yeah, of an American, of an African slave,
right?
Who has his neck is bound, and he has 4. I don't even know what those are. What are those?
It looks like something out of Saw.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, it's something horrifying.
It's this awful
like that.
device with 4 things coming from it that have like hooks at the end. I don't know what it is, but it looks awful.
Yeah. And then in smaller letters, okay, because apparently now they've got your attention.
So,
right?
yeah.
Because this seems to be how they work. They're like, let's shock you. So you look at it.
Right. But all you can see, like if you're driving down the street, all you're going to see is that terrible image and the phrase, "Slaves, obey your masters."
Yeah, that's all you're going to see.
So, of course, you're going to assume that that's put up by, like, the Klan.
Maybe.
Or,
like,
Nazis for re-enslavement of black folks. Which is a great organization, by the way. They're very misunderstood.
Sure.
It's a joke.
But the other thing that you're going to see very clearly right at the bottom, it says, "Paid for by AmericanAtheist.org." That all is like just... That's... plain as day.
So basically what people are going to be assuming as they drive past is, oh, atheists want to reinstate slavery?
I guess. Yeah. Why, that's what I would assume.
Right.
I'm like, slaves obey your masters. I mean, I would know that they're like, okay, what are they getting at here? Whatever.
Oh, they're making you work for it, though.
Yeah, and so in smaller letters off to the side, looking maybe an Arial font, could be Helvetica. This lesson in Bronze Age ethics brought to you by the Year of the Bible and the House of Representatives. Oh, is this the Year of the...
It's
So
remember,
this is another one in a series. This was the first in the series or something? Anyways.
Guess.
Slaves, obey your masters.
Oh, my God.
It's...
Well, see, again, the issue is that what we've discovered is a group of people who are so interested in like shocking that they're not even like curious enough to think objectively about what message is actually going to be hitting
Exactly.
the minds of the people driving past.
Yeah. It just seems so amateurish.
Well, and it's so funny. I'm totally okay with shocking people. I shock people all the time. I say
That's true.
stupid things and shock people. But you know what? Whatever you were going to say, Frank, cool your jets.
I find you quite shocking.
But it's like, you know, you do it for fun. You do it with two people or whatever. If you're crafting a message to go up on a billboard
That's supposed to be about promoting your worldview.
right. I mean, and really, why would you promote?
But see, the thing
it's
is,
not even a worldview. Atheism isn't even a worldview.
But and so all they're doing is tearing down. They are being the atheists that everybody's like.
Right.
That
Everybody is
all the religious folk.
They're all
Get
angry.
all upset about.
All the atheists are
Angry. Their only MO is just to be against God
Right.
and against religion. And
how big
like,
a chip can you build on your shoulder? Sort of thing.
I mean, you say it's not a worldview, and you're right. It's not a specific worldview, but it does lend itself to people finding, rational approach to living.
Yeah.
And that definitely, once you start getting into that does start to. There's a lot of commonality.
Yes.
Between atheists and how we do view the world.
Right. Well,
So
there's
atheism
sort of a
as just a thing, yes, you're right. That is not a worldview. But
Right.
we share a lot. We have a lot in common as atheists.
and hopefully, if we're activists in a sense, what we're promoting is rational thought.
Yeah.
Critical looks at philosophy. Scientific science in general. I mean, these are all things that I think most atheists will gladly get behind.
Sure. But guess what?
What?
Sadly,
But wait, there's more.
Sadly, the story doesn't stop with the American Atheists. Also, Freedom from Religion Foundation, another atheist group, who, for whatever reason, decided to run a full-page ad in the New York Times on, what was it, March 9th, I want to say. I want to say March 9th.
Yeah.
Yes. And big bold letters at the top of the page says, "It's time to quit the Catholic Church." And it's a page torn out of like a spiral notebook. It has this little cartoon at the top of this a priest with a big pope hat on, and he says, "All the outrage over something this small," and that's like pointing to a little tiny pill, right? That's a pill bottle, and that's a pill.
Okay.
And then there's a woman in the other panel, and she's saying, "Is a bit hard to swallow."
To swallow.
I think is what-
they've made a pill joke about hard to swallow.
And so it's it bills itself as an open letter to liberal and nominal Catholics. It's your moment of truth.
Oh, come on.
And then it goes on, and it's talking about, let's see. It accuses the church of creating acute misery, poverty, needless suffering, unwanted pregnancies, overpopulation, social ills, and deaths. Okay, yeah, I would blame them of that too.
Sure.
And then it adds that the church hysterically claims that secular medical policy is on religious liberty. There is threatens religious liberty.
Right.
Which, okay. And then it goes on to say, why put up with an institution that discriminates against half of humanity? I mean, the fact of the matter is...
Which half? The feminine half? Is that what they're saying?
I think so,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
The point isn't... My point, and our point, Dan, I think, is not that the statements are wrong, or the sentiment
No.
about, well, hey, moderate Catholics, this might be a good time to call your leaders on their bullshit, or
right.
or get out,
or leave. Yeah,
leave.
Yeah.
None of that is. I can't dispute that. I dispute the tactic. I dispute the way they're doing it.
Why are we evangelizing?
Yeah.
You have nothing to be evangelizing.
Well, no, I think we should be evangelizing. We should be evangelizing reason.
Yes.
And living a rational, well thought out life.
Right.
That's humane and good and decent. Right. That's what we should be evangelizing.
As opposed to leave your church.
Instead of leave your... Yeah, exactly.
How is leave your church a helpful message?
That is not a helpful message.
All it's going to do... All it's going to do is unite people.
People respond to positivity. People respond to good.
I would be willing to bet that ad has strengthened the faith of a bunch of people.
Absolutely. That's how these things work.
Because
when you're attacked in your belief, you
cling to it.
You cling to it. The natural human reaction is to build up new structures to help support your belief.
Right. Exactly. And it's not just that. It's like when someone says it's time to leave, they've set up an us against them scenario.
Absolutely.
Pick a side.
Yeah.
Well, it's not about pick a side.
It's not. It's about just being good people.
People, if you're part of an atheist group, all I'm saying is just think about what your message is. Ask yourself why you want a specific message out there.
Mm-hmm. And I would say that it should be about promoting who you are.
Right.
And who you know yourself to be and who you know your other atheists to be.
The fact of the matter is that we're already, the momentum of non-religious people in worldwide is the fastest momentum of any group.
Absolutely.
We don't need to do anything.
No.
All we need to do is promote acceptance of non-religious people and ask people to be reasonable.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah, that's it.
People are dropping away already. They're going to leave their church.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Yeah. Matter of fact, I saw a thing just the other day about Britain is going to be more than 50% atheist in 20 years. Projections.
Statistic, yeah.
Projections are saying.
Yeah, projections are always kind of weird because there's also that guy who thinks that Mormons are going to have 250 million worldwide members in the next 40 years or something like that. That it will join the ranks of international world religions with a capital R.
Yeah. But that seems totally likely to me. Because they've got such great representatives like that Mittens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, once people see how awesome he is.
Oh, and he is awesome.
If you can get a handle on who he is, you might think he was awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
If you could figure out who the hell that is. Speaking of candidates in the Republican race.
Oh, yeah.
That refuses to die. Did you see Jon Stewart describe? He said, it seems now that they're trying to decide the Republican candidate by the process of erosion. That was a good one. Amazing. Anyway, that one Mr. Gingrich, you've heard of him? He is outraged.
Yeah, what about?
I don't know about outraged, but he says that the new ABC show GCB. It's a show. I haven't seen it. I've seen ads for it.
I've never even heard of it.
I couldn't. When I first saw the ads, I just sort of did a cursory look to try and find out what GCB stood for, and couldn't find it, and then got bored and just stopped.
Girls, but I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Okay.
It turns out it's from the novel that inspired it is called Good Christian Bitches.
GCB. Okay.
Yeah.
Good Christian Bitches.
And
oh my God. Okay, so
although it's also been called apparently Good Christian Bells.
Oh, are they in the South?
I suppose so. I don't know. But Gingrich is mad.
Why?
Because it's Good Christian Bitches. Apparently, this, as ABC describes their own show as funny, sassy, and heartwarming drama. Mm-hmm. But Mr. Speaker says that if the title, they would never run a show if the title were Good Muslim Bitches. So clearly it's anti-Christian. See, anti-Christian. He says anti-Christian bigotry is considered acceptable in the entertainment industry, but Islam is protected. It's just not fair.
Oh my God. You know what? I'd probably be more likely to watch good Christian Muslims.
Good Muslim bitches.
Good Muslim bitches.
Oh, I would be fascinated to watch that show. Whatever
when the
Hollywood
hijab comes off.
Oh no. Oh, and that Muslim show, the American Muslims, got canceled. Did you see that?
Oh, that was like a Lifetime thing or something, right? Or
it was like TLC.
TLC?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Apparently it was boring.
Muslims
Surprise!
being boring? Yeah, that's a big surprise.
Yeah, well, it's not like
unless they're being like crazy, they're pretty boring.
Yeah, well, everybody's pretty boring.
That's true. Yeah.
Why would you do? I mean, it's a reality show about just some normal Americans. That's a boring show.
Yeah, yeah.
The fact that they happen to be Muslim, I mean, I don't know what that says to us.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, Dan, did you know? This is hot off the presses, by the way. This is important news. It's surprising. It's shocking. In fact,
I'm prepared for shock.
This is from, I guess it's the AP. U.S. Here's the headline: U.S. tags Vatican as a money laundering concern.
Skun dun dun.
Can you believe that? And of course, the Obama administration is for the first time citing Vatican City as a potential hub for money laundering.
I was wondering where to go.
Yeah. I always thought it was like...
I never know where to launder my money.
I was thinking the Isle of Man.
Which seems nice.
Yeah.
But Vatican City seems... it's just got a nice air to it. It feels religious. Mm-hmm. Feels like if someone accused you of laundering money there, you could just assume a very haughty posture and be outraged.
Indeed.
Do you know this is the Vatican City? How dare you, sir?
This is orphan money. Orphans raised this money.
Orphans laundered this money. This was laundered by orphans and lepers.
Well, apparently this is from an annual report that comes from the State Department. It's the International Narcotics Control Strategy Report. And I love that the article said it identifies the Holy See as one of
the Holy See.
The Holy See. That's one of the nicknames of the Vatican City.
Oh, that's right.
It's like SEE. Yeah, the Holy See.
What the hell does that mean?
I've never really understood it, but it's one of 68 countries or jurisdictions of concern. For money laundering. So it's not like they actually have cases of money laundering. They've looked at the sort of the banking structure and controls and regulations, and they've said the Vatican could potentially, but I just find it so funny that like, who is this? Like, because also the report places Belgium, Ireland, Portugal, and South Korea on the same list. And this is great. Major economies, including Britain, Japan, and the U.S. are also identified as countries of primary concern.
Well, yeah.
So it's our own report.
Yeah.
And we're on the list. And it's like, but the headline is U.S. tags Vaticanism under. Why?
Well, it's the first time.
Why?
It's the first time.
Well, that's true. It is the first time.
I just want to know, because what jumps immediately to my mind is that the people who are using the Vatican City for their money laundering are like the Italian mafia in the U.S. Like, that's who I jump to. Is like the Sopranos guys. Going, you got to take this over to the Vatican. We'll get this taken care of.
Well, is there like a Vatican state bank? I mean, there must be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little tiny country. There's only like 1,000 people that live there.
And
none of them
do you think the
reproduce.
Vatican State Bank uses Latin as its as its official language. Bancus Vaticanus.
Probably. Can I write as you as a Checus?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It's kind of it's interesting.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect the Vatican.
No.
Have such
There are many things that we would expect from the Vatican. Speaking of
not
which,
necessarily one of them.
I wanted to contrast two different things that I saw this week. One of them is the Episcopalians, also known as the Anglicans, also known as the Church of England's.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I know the folk. Nice folk.
Good people.
Good people.
Good. If you go out, if you haven't seen it, everybody, go out and find Eddie Izzard's whole screed on the Church of England because it's delightful. The cake or death thing.
Oh yeah. That's
Anyway.
good stuff.
Anyway, the Episcopalians have released possible. These aren't official yet, but a draft of what same-sex marriage rights would look like.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like official.
Wow.
Because some Episcopal churches already perform same-sex
They do.
marriages.
Yeah. They bless.
They
the
bless.
marriage.
That's right.
Yeah.
They don't. Yeah. So now they're working on official rights for this marriage.
Oh, okay.
Probably most of them follow the lines of just a standard, a real marriage.
Sure. Okay.
With straight people.
Okay.
The article that I found, in order to get to the excerpts of them, said the draft rights are here, and does a link. And the part that everyone's curious about, from the traditional "I now pronounce you man and wife," looks like this,
Okay.
and links to this. And so instead of "I now pronounce you man and wife," insomuch as blank and blank have exchanged vows of love and fidelity in the presence of God and the Church, I now pronounce that they are bound to one another in a holy covenant as long as they both shall live. Amen.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That's good phrasing. It sounds nice. It doesn't sound like they're...
It doesn't sound condescending or whatever.
And they're like rephrasing it.
Right. And you can't do, I now pronounce you husband and husband.
I'm sure people have.
I know. It's that just, I mean, it's...
Wife and wife.
I now you may...
Woman and wife.
You may kiss...
Man and husband.
Yeah, exactly. Man and husband, woman and wife. Yeah, I like that. Anyways, and then there's a vows about... the vows are interesting.
Okay.
In the name of God, I blank give myself to you, blank. I will support and care for you, enduring all things, bearing all things. I will hold and cherish you in times of plenty and times of want. I will honor and keep you, forsaking all others, as long as we both shall live. This is my solemn vow. I just think that's nice.
That's a nice one.
I was actually touched. The first time I read it, I was like, I will hold and cherish. It was just nice.
It's worded very, very well.
It just feels nice.
Oh, the Episcopalians.
Yeah.
Look at them.
In contrast...
Uh-oh.
The Pope today. Or not today.
No.
The Pope.
In contrast? Yeah, I'll say.
Obviously,
Yeah.
yeah. Condemns gay marriage in a speech to U.S. bishops.
God.
Sexual differences cannot be dismissed as irrelevant to the definition of marriage, the Pope said.
I like your Ratzinger impression.
The Ratzinger, I should do it with a German accent. The powerful political and cultural current seeking to alter the legal definition of marriage. He's warning against them. Oh, they're very, very bad. Yeah. he is. He's blowing it up.
Yeah.
He is mad. Yeah. The contemporary crisis of marriage and the family has led to grave societal problems bearing immense human and economic cost.
Really?
Grrr.
Really?
Yeah, I wonder if he could point to anything.
I would like to know what he has to offer there. Yeah.
Really? What costs?
Yeah. What are these costs, Herr Ratzinger?
Herr Ratzinger? There's also a lovely quote here from Britain's Cardinal Keith O'Brien, who told Prime Minister David Cameron that same-sex unions were, quote, madness, and, quote, a grotesque subversion of universally accepted human rights. It's madness! Man, their panties are in a collective twist.
Amazing. Ugh, God.
Yeah.
Well, might as well just shift gears to the Mormons.
The Mormons?
I like the Mormons. Actually, what I really like about this is that the Deseret News, that's Salt Lake City's Mormon newspaper, and I'm just going to start calling them that because that's what they are.
Right. That's not what they claim to be.
That's not what they claim to be, and it's not what they used to be. They were always owned by the church, but their news and their reporting was okay.
Now it's just a mouthpiece.
Now it's just a mouthpiece of the church. They've just completely given up any pretense of journalistic integrity and whatnot.
Well, when you're good at propaganda, go with it.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, this is from the Deseret News.
Yeah.
Deseret News. And the headline says Mormonism 101. We could have easily called What Mormons Believe Mormonism 101.
It's a good thing we didn't.
I know. Good God.
There would be copyright issues.
We
could send a cease and desist.
We should. Nope, sorry. We're the ones who are saying what.
We do Mormons 101. You guys have to come up with a better name.
Mormonism 101, new LDS Church infographic describes beliefs, members.
I wonder if that's true.
Well, I pulled up the infographic.
I know you did.
And it's cute. It's it's infographic-y.
The LDS Church has some decent designers.
Yeah, though, I have a feeling
graphic designers
that it was probably. I'm just going to take a stab. I have nothing to base this on, so this is just me saying this. I think they hired somebody at USA Today.
It does kind of have a USA Today feel to it. I think they were just inspired.
Yeah. So it's very silhouette-y, very limited design.
Good use of color.
Good color contrast.
Little red.
Yeah.
And a nice sort of teal.
Silhouette-y.
What would you call that color? Sort of a blue-green.
It's a
Anyway.
A blue algae of some sort.
It's lovely.
Yeah. And then kind of a rusty, whatever. So anyways, some of these are just kind of fun. At the top it says, percentage of sacramental worship services that focus on Christ. What do you think that percentage is, Dan?
Of sacramental worship services that focus on Christ.
That focus on Jesus Christ.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just say that from my experience going there, the focus was sometimes on Jesus Christ.
Sure, yeah.
I would say maybe 50%.
50%?
In my experience.
You are wrong.
Oh. We have a factual number?
Yes. And their factual number is 100%. Yes. And I have to agree with Dan. It's, I wouldn't know what percentage I would say, just anecdotally from my own experience, but, it definitely wouldn't be 100%.
No.
But I will say, I have heard that they've been doing a little bit of a push.
Oh, okay.
To kind of reform the sacrament meeting. Because for people who don't know, the sacrament meeting, because it's a lay service, right? They actually have members of the congregation get up and give a talk.
Right.
They're the bishop, who's also lay, assigns out topics.
Right.
And so they then, or maybe like a verse. They'll give them like a verse of scripture, and they base a talk on that, or something like that.
So each meeting, each sacrament meeting is basically, you get a few hymns, you get the sacrament service itself,
the Eucharist, which is communion,
right? And then you get 2 or 3 talks from members of the congregation.
Oftentimes they start with like a youth who that's the first speaker, who will give like a little 5 to 10 minute, very nervous beyond belief.
Everybody tolerates because they're never any good.
Yeah, but they're sometimes cute.
It's like a book report.
They're like booker. Yeah, it's true. And then there'll be like maybe a husband and wife, but of course the wife speaks first, so that the husband can speak last.
Right. Because he has the priesthood.
Because he has the priesthood.
And he'll close it out with a little bit of extra Jesus.
And sometimes it's just random people from the ward.
Right.
But anyways, my experience, those little talks, not always Jesus-y.
Right. So what they must be saying is that, like, Jesus does make an appearance at every one. There's sacrament. Because they have the sacrament.
There's the sacrament, yeah.
So as long as they have the sacrament in the service, then
Jesus was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's there He's always there.
He's always there.
He's always present.
It's not like, but to be clear, they don't have any sort of transubstantiation thing. It's not like the bread and water turn into the blood and body of Christ.
True.
Or
that's true.
So Jesus
purely
isn't there
symbolic.
physically the way he shows up to Catholic church.
That's
He shows up there physically, and then everyone eats him.
That's true. I like this. Members believe the Bible is holy scripture testifying of Christ's divinity, and the Book of Mormon is another testament of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is mentioned 3,925 times in the Book of Mormon. A mention every 1.7 verses. I don't know how that's possible.
That doesn't seem possible.
1.7 every 1.7 verses. I think you can read whole chapters
And
about
not
just
get-
wars between the Lamanites and the Nephites.
So maybe what's you know what
the
they're
Lord
doing?
saith, or something
Here's
like that.
here's what's happening. You're getting like lots of verses that are like, and Jesus said unto them, I will go unto thee, and I will do this, and every I in that is a mention of Jesus, and so they're counting it.
Yeah. And then, of course, it just goes on. It says, a family faith. 81% say being a good parent is among their top life goals, compared to only 50% of the general public. Who says that's...
They don't... it's not one of my top goals because I'm not a parent.
Where's more? Yeah. 9 out of 10 members read scriptures or pray with their children and send them to receive religious education.
I believe that's true.
That probably is true.
They definitely try to make everybody read their scriptures.
Let's see. 96% donate to religious causes per year. Okay. Yeah, they're not saying... Okay.
By religious causes, they mean they pay tithing.
They pay tithing, yeah. 80% donate to non-religious causes per year.
Oh,
80%.
that's nice.
Interesting.
Well done.
70% participate in religious volunteering.
I don't know how
Meaning
they get these figures.
Hold a calling in the church.
Right. Yes, that is what they mean.
It's all volunteering.
Right.
And
then I wonder how they claim to have gotten the figure about how much church giving is going on.
Oh, I don't know.
Because they don't collect that information.
Non-religious causes per year. Non-religious causes.
How could they possibly know that?
Non-religious causes per year. Maybe to the Boy Scouts. They would have that information.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then they put
spurious.
They put their total church membership at 14,131,467. Okay.
Well, 14 million is better than they used to say 30 million.
No.
Didn't they?
No. The number's never gone down. Okay. The number, this is...
what am I thinking of? No, not 30 million.
I have this. This is totally secondhand, but when I was at BYU, I had a friend whose grandfather was a member of the Quorum of the 12.
Oh, okay.
And we went to General Conference, and we did that whole thing. And we actually went and hung out with her family and stuff at one point. And one of the things that her mom, I think it was her mom who said this, was talking about how the brethren, that's very Mormon-y, speak for the church leadership. The brethren are very embarrassed by the number, actually.
Oh.
That there are, or at least there are certain members of church leadership who kind of cringe whenever they hear the official number.
Right.
Because they know that it usually runs about 50%.
Right.
Whatever number they're really saying, their actual real tally at any one given time is about 50%, because they can't find everybody that is supposedly Mormon. Right. And they have really bad retention rates for new converts. And they have, they compared to other religions, probably pretty good. They get about 50% of the people that they know where they're at to actually show up for church on any given
The truth of the
Sunday.
matter is that they're counting,
which does go counter to this 77% of members attend church at least weekly, compared to 39% of the U.S. average.
They're claiming that?
They're claiming that 77%, and I know for a fact, I never lived in a ward as a kid that ever had more than 50% attendance.
That's abject bullshit.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no basis.
And just
for that.
living in Salt Lake, I mean, I know that 40%, supposedly according to Mormon numbers, 40% of this city is Mormon.
Right.
Well, that doesn't jive with my day-to-day experience at all.
Yeah.
Like,
and day-to-day experience isn't enough to really talk about.
No, that's
But
true.
here's what we do know. We know that when the Mormons count how many of them there are, they count everyone who is baptized, which means starting at 8 years old.
Yeah.
And they count everyone who hasn't expressly written in and gotten their name removed from the rolls.
They are also counting children of record, which are kids who are not 8 yet, but who are on track to being baptized.
Right. They're also counting people who may have died, but they don't have the official death certificate because they lost track of them. Until they're, I think, 108 years old or something like that, they count them.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
I've never heard that one before. That's amazing.
And then and we know for a fact that they're counting all these people who stopped going to church. They're counting my wife, who is.
Oh, she still hasn't?
She still hasn't written in and had her name taken off the roll.
No way.
They counted me for a long time because I didn't care to take my name off the rolls because
Right.
I was like, I don't care if you count me.
Yeah.
And then they did the whole Prop 8 thing, and I was like, I can't be numbered among people who are so bigoted, and I took my name off.
But your wife can.
Well, apparently, she wants to now, but the thing is, there's this huge thing about, like, if you get your name taken off, you kind of have to know that all of the bishop is going to go to your family members and say, your daughter's taking her name off the rolls. You guys know that, right? Which is probably illegal.
It is illegal.
But they do that.
Because the letter that you write in, if you use the one from the form letter and base it off of that's from like xmormon.org, or no Mormon no more,
right?
It's mormonnomore.org
whatever
or something
is,
like that. They have a form letter that you can kind of modify and whatever, but it has like all the things that you really need to hit,
right,
in order to make the most solid like letter period. And when I sent mine in, like I had said things like, "This is you are not to. This is I do not view this as an ecclesiastical issue. This is simply I do not want my name on your records. Please, the bishop is not to the bishop in my neighborhood is not to contact me. Blah 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 blah. Well, guess what I got? I got contact from the bishop.
Right.
The stake president sent me a letter, and the church sent back a letter that said, we have forwarded your information on to these people. And I turned around and so quickly responded with a, you did not read my letter. You did not read it, and you need to.
Right.
Because this is what I said, and you are violating my own personal right to associate with whomever I choose to associate, or whatever organization.
Well, they have all sorts of fun tricks.
And so they have
do
their little
whole,
tricks.
Yeah,
they had me off within a week after that letter. And I've heard of people just being dragged through this whole process because they start to like, I'll talk to the bishop so we can just get this done. And it's like, no.
Well, there's also a lot of people who are scared.
No.
There are a lot of people who do it because they know that that's that's right for them, but they still have a lot of the whole mind game,
the Mormon bullshit still up
in their brain, and so it works for a lot of people. Actually, a lot of people get pulled back in because they're told they have to go through a church court, and they have to face their bishop and their stake president, and they have to face all this stuff, and it's all very, very scary. And I was really hoping that they would do a church court for me.
Yeah.
Because I kind of wanted to go in there and just see what they had to say. It was just morbid curiosity. I couldn't give a flying fuck about like what they thought, but I just Anyway.
All right.
Anyway, moving on. So, I know that you're such a sports fan.
I love the sports.
That you're excited about March Madness.
I love March Madness.
College basketball, right? Well, forget about it.
What?
Because there's something way more exciting happening I've discovered.
Better than college basketball players?
It's March Madness. It's Lent Madness.
What is Lent Madness? Beyond Lent being mad, what is
it? Some guys on the web, a priest from I guess it's Episcopal. Yeah, it's Episcopal. they've set up for Lent a bracket, a tournament of saints. Saints are playing against other saints to see who's going to come out as the 2012 Saint of the Lent Madness. Who's going to receive, and I shit you not, this is what they're going to receive, the Golden Halo.
Shut up. And so they, like, oh my God. So, like, Saint Sebastian sitting there with, like, arrows sticking out of them. And
it's basically people are voting.
Lucia, she's like, I'm so much better than you. I've got a 1 on one hand and 3 fingers on the other.
No, what's happening is they've pitted all of these various saints against each other, and everybody goes on and votes for their favorite. And it's kind of a clever way to like get people more aware of their saints.
Oh, sure, yeah, why not?
So right now, just so you know where the bracket stands.
Oh yeah, let me know.
Joan of Arc did beat Lancelot Andrews in the first round. So Joan of Arc's still in it. She's going to be playing against Mary Magdalene in the next round.
Oh my goodness, where's Padre Pio?
I don't got him.
No,
I do have, because not all the saints. There's thousands of saints or whatever. Emma of Hawaii has beaten Catherine of Siena. That was an upset. That was a big upset. That was the most recent one. Oh my gosh! So
that's amazing.
I'm really looking forward to seeing if Margaret of Scotland can topple William Temple, though. But we'll have to see how that one goes.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Who knows what's going to happen?
Lent Madness.
So there's the round of 32, then the Saintly 16 as it gets pared down, the Elate 8.
Oh dear God.
And then it gets to the Faithful 4.
That's so stupid. Oh my God.
That's some good stuff, friends.
Oh my God.
It's way more exciting than stupid basketball. What saint is going to win?
Yeah,
what dead person? Gotta come up with.
But I like more of a virtual contest of them like facing off.
Yeah,
right? And their special powers,
there should
whatever
be
they
animations of these saints. Yeah, their powers.
I healed a woman who had, I don't know. But
right, yeah. No, yeah. All their
because
various
they all have
miracles.
Yeah. Who has a better miracle?
Although, how do the Episcopals do it? Is it the same basic process as the Catholics? I don't know much about Episcopal
Lent
saints.
Madness?
No, they're saints. Yes. Catholics do Lent Madness totally differently. It's a different bracket. It's double elimination.
It's more of a round robin.
It's so much harder to follow, frankly. But it's more fair in the end.
Right. Oh my God. Let's see. Well, if you'd like to join our conversation, the number to leave a voicemail for us is 424-666-TGIA. That's
call us in.
424-666-8442.
Or you can email us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
And, of course, there's the Twitter feed, which is at TGI Atheist.
Yep.
There's also the blog, which is awesome. Dan posts there, and I put notes sometimes from the episodes.
Thankgodimatheist.com.
And, and the Facebook page.
Yeah. We've had a couple of new likes in the past week, so that's
awesome.
nice. Yeah, go ahead and like us.
Like us on Facebook
if you want.
If you like us in the real world, like us on Facebook,
because that's more real than the real world.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. This is I don't want to do more of setting this up than just to say that this is Pat Robertson.
Indeed.
Folks. That's all you need to know.
At one time, we had probably the largest prison ministry in America with CBN, and we did it with video, and the response was huge. Those men and women want to know the Lord, but there's something else we've got to recognize. We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years. They've got mandatory sentences, and these judges just say, they throw up their hands and say, nothing we can do, there's mandatory sentences. We've got to take a look at what we're considering crimes, and that's one of them. I mean, I'm not exactly for the use of drugs, don't get me wrong, but I just believe that criminalizing marijuana, criminalizing the possession of a few ounces of pot and that kind of thing, I mean, it's just it's costing us a fortune, and it's ruining young people. Young people go into prisons. They go in as youths, and they come out as hardened criminals, and that's not a good thing.
Exactly.
Pat Robertson,
You
blows
hippie, you.
my mind.
You crazy hippie, you. I'm going to start working on a Pat Robertson impression.
Yeah, you
Well, the
should.
problem is we go in and... Yeah, I'm going to have to work on it. But
Yeah. No, isn't that nuts?
Dude,
Making sense on marijuana?
I know.
What's the deal?
And last week he made sense on the weather.
On the weather.
Next thing you know, he's going to be like, you know what? This whole God thing doesn't really make much sense. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm saying what we're all thinking, right?
I mean, the way that I became aware of this was that he was quoted in the New York Times, I guess this last week or pretty recently, saying this exact same stance. Right?
Weird.
And so
I mean, he's of course he's absolutely right.
no, yeah. Hello,
Like, our drug-
it's
the United
first of
States
all,
drug policy
He's
is
demonstrating an ability to have empathy, which I didn't think he had.
Right.
And he's demonstrating an understanding of the inequality and the injustice. Actually, not inequality, the injustice of these, minimum
Right.
sentences and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And just the fact that the policy itself doesn't make sense.
He's demonstrating use of logic and reason,
Yeah, it's unbelievable to me.
which you never hear out of that guy.
But here's the deal. It comes from the fact, and he says it right at the beginning. He says that they've had this prison ministry.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, when you're exposed to populations and to people and to their concerns, and you learn to care for those people.
When you see an actual face,
When you see
to
a face
problem.
and you can link it to the problem, you're going to have empathy because
Yeah.
he's not a sociopath.
No.
So he's a human being. He will have empathy. And then all of a sudden he understands it from a totally different perspective because he's actually able to relate to somebody or connect to somebody who has been through it and who has had the injustice acted upon them.
When
And
you
so-
meet your 10th good kid
Yeah.
who's in prison
Right.
for something that was literally never going to harm anybody else,
Right.
eventually it's going to get to you.
It's going to get to you, and you're going to come up with a reasoned and rational approach to an issue like that. He needs to meet some gay people.
He won't.
No, and see that therein lies the problem.
Right.
Is that the conservatives and conservative Christianity they put these blinders on about how they want the world to be one way, and they refuse to see the world for how it is.
Right.
And
And they've got their way of thinking about it. Mm-hmm. They've got their explanations for why
Absolutely.
people say they're gay and what gay means and what
Right.
it all is about.
Right. Instead of actually listening to their child or their grandchild or their niece or their
Or,
nephew or
God
their cousin.
forbid, just some random person.
Or just some random person.
No. No. I know why this happens. It's the devil gets in you or something.
But it's why Tammy Faye Baker was such an early advocate for the gay community.
Right.
Crazy Christian.
Yeah.
Crazy human being, by the way. I don't know
Yeah,
if you've ever
oh.
seen The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Absolutely nutso.
But she's got a big heart.
And a
She's
lush to boot.
She's a good person. Yeah. She's a good person.
Yeah.
And she did a TV show with that nice J.J. Bullock.
You guys got to go find as much footage as you can.
In fact, Dan,
of
let's-
Jim J and Tammy Faye.
Oh.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, Jim J. Bullock, not... Yeah. Jim J. and Tammy Faye.
Go to the YouTube and find some of this shit because it is priceless.
But let's put up a link of the one that we really like up
Okay.
on the blog.
Okay.
On TGI.
We need to
Thank God I'm Atheist.
take a note that we're going to do that because we say that we're going to put stuff up and then we forget.
I usually put notes up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Jim J. and Tammy Faye. Faye, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not like Santa Fe. Tammy Faye Baker. Yeah.
Right.
It's a treat.
It is.
But a good example of a really conservative evangelical Christian who met some gay people.
Yep.
And that's all it took.
That's all it took.
So,
Alrighty. Hey, you know what?
what?
we know some things that Mormons believe.
Dun, dun, dun.
So we're going to dive into another segment of what Mormons believe.
Oh, this is good.
And this one's a good one.
This is a good one.
You all need to know this. Those of you who are former or current members of the church already know some of what we're going to say. Mm-hmm. But there's a decent chance you don't know all of what we're going to say.
Sure.
So
this is some good stuff. We Dan and I were talking about, where's some of the wacky stuff that might be that we've ignored,
right? That we haven't gotten to, or whatever.
And this is actually one that's just sort of sitting in plain sight.
Yeah,
in Mormonism. It's they don't hide any of this or most of it,
right?
And there are a couple things but they actually end up talking about, I think, almost everything that we're going to talk about. Maybe a couple things you're going to talk about they don't really talk about in Sunday school. But this is some pretty mainstream LDS church stuff.
And what we're talking about is Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon.
Because they can't hide from this.
No, this is the foundation. This is foundational. Without this, you don't have Mormons.
Yeah.
And we all know who Joe Smith is. He was the founder of and first prophet of the Mormon Church.
And it might be important just to note, as we're going forward with some of these dates, I'm going to be mentioning specific dates. I think the first most important date, because you can kind of do some math in your head and keep a tally of like how old he is at the time. He was born in December of 1805.
That's right.
And that he was actually born in Vermont.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. And the family moved.
And then the family moved.
None of the good Mormon stories take place in Vermont.
No.
Sorry, Vermont.
Oh, Vermont. Let's see. Well, you wanted to talk about the first vision. I think that's the first.
Right.
Is that where we want to start with his life?
Sure.
Is that the first vision?
Because here's how. Well, why don't you, as a former missionary, let's just do the quick rundown that a missionary gives on this.
Well,
and then we'll expand on it.
To be honest, I don't fully 100% remember exactly what the rundown was, but I can give you kind of what my sort of take on the whole thing is. Wow.
We're phlegmy. Pardon us while we clear our throats.
Oh, God. Okay. So, anyways, upstate New York, which is where the Smiths were living.
Palmyra.
Joseph Smith was a young lad of 14. And his parents were not in any sort of agreement about which church they were going to belong to. So they each belonged to different faiths, if I remember correctly.
It's so hard on a home.
It was really hard on a home. And the thing about New York at this time is it was called the Burned Over District, or I think it was the Burned Over District is what sort of colloquially it was called, because there had been such a sort of renewal, sort of a rebirth of sort of fervent Christian evangelicalism, or evangelizing more than evangelicalism. It was just evangelizing. There were all these different groups and everything that we're going through, that really everybody in the region had been sort of touched by sort of religious fervor. And so Joseph Smith, growing up in this environment, was curious about which one he should join, because they all said that they were the one to join.
Right.
And so he thought that he should ask God. That he should go and he should pray. And I'm sure it's based on some scripture. If any of you lack faith, let him ask of God, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's in the Bible somewhere, New Testament. I want to say John. This is all just like coming to me in a flood of thoughts. I should have prepared this a little bit better.
Try and curb your PTSD as you go through.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, so he went and prayed. He went to a local, he went out into the woods near his family's farm.
A grove
of trees. And he kneeled down and he started to ask of God which of these churches are true.
Right.
And as soon as he started praying, he was overcome by a darkness. There was a darkness that he had to struggle against.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. And he interpreted that as being the devil. Satan himself.
Why wouldn't you?
Coming to stop what was about to happen, coming to destroy him. In fact, I think the word destroy is actually used in Joseph Smith's, sort of the officially accepted Joseph Smith
Very scary.
version. And there he is, just a boy of 14. And then out of the darkness, or coming into the darkness, scattering the darkness, whatever, two illuminated personages in a pillar of light descend.
Everyone, please imagine choral music.
Yeah,
playing to this.
And so the picture that the Mormons have is Joseph Smith is on the ground and he's kind of laying back and he has one hand up. Right,
it's amazing. It's a beautiful picture.
And then there's these two perfectly white, both in the fact that they're Caucasian and dressed in white, beings, God the Father and his Son Jesus Christ. And God said unto Joseph, "Behold, my only begotten Son. Hear him." I think that's what he said. Mio figlio unigenito.
He has to translate it from the Italian.
Yeah, kind of weird.
Okay, so that's the basic first vision account.
Yeah.
That you're used to hearing if you're in the church in this day and age.
Yeah.
Wrong.
What do you mean wrong?
Everything about it is either right and is both right and wrong.
I spent 2 years telling that story, Dan.
Yep. Everything about that story, there's other versions.
What?
That it's kind of interesting. No. First of all,
what kind of anti-Mormon literature did you get your hands on?
the kind that the Mormon Church has to grudgingly acknowledge.
Oh no.
Yeah. So here's the problem. Well, here are some of the problems with that story.
Okay.
We have several different accounts from Joseph Smith himself of this event, and most of them have conflicts with each other.
What? He
Yeah.
was inconsistent in his own telling
Completely,
of the story?
utterly inconsistent,
What?
including the first version that he ever wrote down, which does not include two personages at all, has one personage,
And what is the personage?
Jesus,
Jesus.
the Son.
Okay. And what does he say and do and instruct?
Yeah, similar things to what, but there's
But
no
don't
mention
you think
whatsoever.
he would remember that God appeared?
Well,
The God the Father appeared?
he just didn't remember, apparently.
Wait a second.
That came to him later.
No.
The first account.
Don't we usually trust people's first written accounts more than we trust further?
The earliest extant account of the first vision was from 1832. He wrote it down in 1830. It's when he wrote the account.
So in 1832 was the first time that he wrote it down.
Yes.
This happened in 1820.
Well, that's one possible time that it happened.
Whoa, what?
This could have happened any time between when he was 14 and when he was... Because the first time he wrote it, he said he was 16 years of age.
Shut up.
Yep. So,
What?
yeah. There's a lot of inconsistency.
Okay,
with
keep
this.
going.
So, yeah, the first account that we have wasn't published until 1965, by the way.
Wait,
Yeah, 1965.
1965.
The first account was not published.
Why was it not published?
Well, it's kind of hard to publish something that is so in contrast to the received view of what happened.
Okay.
Mind you, there are accounts of, other people wrote in their diaries what they heard, and those don't gel with with other versions of the thing. There's dozens of versions of this story that floated around. So yeah, he's anywhere from 14 to 16 years old. The number of people that appeared to him varies from account to account. What they say varies from account to account. What he prayed for varies from account to account.
What do you mean? What else would he have asked for?
Forgiveness of his sins
No way.
is really what is what the first one says he was going after.
The first time he wrote it down in 1832.
It was
this pivotal part of the Joseph Smith story being that he went to pray to know which church was true.
Right.
And that's what the Mormons based their entire sort of, this is why we're our own new church.
Yeah. Now, even in the 1832 version, Jesus did say to him, "None of these other churches are true, and you need to start." And so he does. I don't think he says you need to start something, but he does say that they're not right.
Wow, 1832. Like, I'm just looking at what's going on in the world in 1832. South Carolina threatens to secede from the United States.
Right.
Joseph Smith in March was tarred by a mob in 1832. So he's probably starting to become a little bit more radicalized. Joseph's adopted son, Joseph Murdoch Smith, dies from a cold caught when he was pulled from Joseph's arms during the mobbing. My God. So 5 days after the being tarred, his son dies.
Yeah. It's a rough time.
Okay, all right.
It's a rough time.
But anyways, so that's 1832.
Right.
When he's
It's not until 1834 or 35 that we start to get written accounts of the first vision cropping up.
Well,
there's an account by Oliver Cowdery.
Wasn't he also illiterate, though?
No. That cannot be true. Because he wrote a book.
He never wrote the book. He always had scribes.
Yeah, but he had to...
He could write.
They're apocryphally, they say that he wasn't very good at reading and writing, but I think it's generally accepted that he was actually fine. He was totally literate.
Oh, okay.
I'm not positive about that, so I'm not stating that as fact. Some of these other things.
That's a question for your mom.
Indeed,
Dan's mom. Let us know.
Yeah, do let us know. She's a listener.
Yeah.
So in 1835, Joseph Smith has his first account that was until the 1960s when the first account came out. And, and then it gets very, very confusing. Just know that even the Mormon Church on their own website on LDS.org recognizes that there are varying accounts. They spin it to say these accounts are similar in many ways, but they include some differences in emphasis and detail.
Oh, okay.
Like how many dudes appeared to him, and
that kind of detail.
Just little details here and there that may or may not be different. But together, his accounts provide a more complete record of what occurred.
Oh no!
By more
confusing.
By more complete, they mean there's a whole lot of details, many of which are in stark contrast with each other.
Wow. How do they make that work?
You just can't.
Because to be honest,
you pick the one that you like and you run with it.
As a young, believing, active Mormon, I never had to make that work.
No,
I don't know what you do to make that work.
Yeah. Well.
Anyways.
Yeah. Okay. No. So most people don't realize about all of that stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of differing accounts. But it finally has all gelled to the account that you gave.
Okay.
So there you go. That's the first vision.
Okay, interesting.
So now we have a Joseph Smith.
We have a Joseph Smith
who knows that he's not supposed to join any of these other churches.
Right, and this either happened in somewhere between 1820 and 1822.
We think
1823, on September 21st, 1823, according to the church's official timeline. Joseph prays and is visited 3 times during the night by an angel named Moroni.
Why does he keep coming back? What is this a Scrooge sort of thing? You will be visited 3 times because Moroni will keep forgetting to give you... Oh, shit, one more thing. Sorry. Wake up again. I'm sorry.
To be honest, I wish you'd asked me that earlier because I would have looked up because I know that there's a reason. But if I remember correctly, he says the same message 3 times.
Because
he's just trying to drill it into his head. Because it's not enough to have an angel appear in your room.
Right.
You're just not going to remember what he says, right?
Right.
And so...
Well, he was sleepy.
What people don't know about Joseph Smith is that he was a really heavy sleeper. And that he was really groggy when he first woke up.
All I can imagine now is Moroni appearing to him, saying his whole spiel, going back to heaven and going, shit, he didn't get any of that.
Okay, let's go back.
I'm gonna go tell him again because he was bleary. I don't think he got a thing.
This is a goddamn 90-minute trip from heaven to earth, and I've got to do it again.
Okay. It's pretty important. It's pretty important. I'm gonna go tell him. I'm gonna go tell him again. So he finds out that there's a hidden book of scripture.
Yes,
from this Moroni fella,
and
where it is, right?
And he does. He tells him. He tells him where it is, and then so the following day, Joseph goes to the place where the golden plates have been hidden.
Cool, he gets to see them.
Yeah.
Except...
And so we're talking about these golden plates, and just to kind of let everybody know what the golden plates are, it becomes clear enough in a moment what they are. But the golden plates are, or the gold plates, I guess, are the supposed source of the Book of Mormon. So this is why this is so important.
Right. They are, yeah.
And so
So the next day he goes to receive the golden to dig up the golden plates.
Right. So he's shown the place. He sees them. He goes to grab them. He's shocked.
Oh!
He's shocked. There's an electric
like a
shock.
bolt.
And he's thrown back. And the angel Moroni says that he is not to take them, but he is to return every year so he can see them for the next 4 years. Right? Did I just make that up in my head? Because I remember that being part of the story.
I don't remember. What I remember is like, why can't he have them?
Yeah.
It was just this whole like, nope, you don't get them.
I don't know.
I told you where they were. You found them. Good job. Let's just keep a lid on this.
But nonetheless, whether or not he went back every year, he didn't get them until September 22nd, 1827.
Which is like 5 years later.
Which is 4 years later to the day.
Oh, 4 years later.
Right.
That's right.
Which is why I'm pretty sure it was each year he had to go back. Now, so at this point, he's like 14, 17. He's like 16-ish because his birthday is totally at the end of the year. So he's like 16 years old when he is that right? No. I'm doing some. He's like 21 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 21 when he finally gets the gold plates. And
finally,
for whatever reason, he does. Also, it's important that not the gold plates were not the only thing that Moroni let him have.
Right.
There was also the Urim and Thummim,
which are seer stones.
Seer stones, yeah.
Which are stones that you can use to see things magically.
Yes. And there were a couple other things, but that's the important thing, the Urim and Thummim.
Now, to add some interesting context to this, we are in a time period where everyone in the United States of America is obsessed with Indian gold.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Everyone's obsessed with Indians. They believe there's buried treasure somewhere.
Yeah. In fact, I'm not so good on the details here, but the whole like Joseph Smith was arrested for like grave robbing.
No.
Grave digging.
No, he was arrested for fraud.
Fraud.
And what he had done was, and this is also interesting. There was folk magic ran deep in his family. Right. So his father and brothers would go out with seer stones looking for gold.
Shut up.
Anybody remember this story? And he was arrested for going out and doing like divining.
Okay.
So divining for water, all of that sort of thing, divining for gold. And he would promise that he would help you find something, and then when he didn't, people wanted him arrested. I think that there are. That's the only thing that I know of for sure that he was actually arrested for.
He was definitely accused of other stuff.
Well, yeah.
But accusing is accusing.
Right.
So, all right.
But it is interesting to note that he had a history of like divining, of using seer stones, or this was a family thing of using seer stones and of gold treasure seeking, essentially.
When he comes up with this Urim and Thummim, which are seer stones, right?
Yeah.
He would put them in a hat, right?
This is controversial within the church too, but there is an absolute account of the translation, because now he's got the golden plates.
Right.
He's got these things, and what they are plates of gold upon which is written the Book of Mormon.
The entire Book of Mormon.
Now, if you in Reformed Egyptian,
yes,
which is the language in which it was written, the written language was called Reformed Egyptian. So it looked like hieroglyphics. Your standard hieroglyphics, but it had different meaning. And somehow he managed to get that huge book, 500 pages, of Book of Mormon,
printed today
in tiny print,
tiny print,
onto off of these giant. I once did the math. I got curious because gold is heavier than lead.
Yeah,
gold is a heavy metal, and there are descriptions of the size of these plates, and the fact that they're written on both sides. So we can't be talking about foil here. We can't be talking about thin. These are plates of gold, upon which is written enough. Even if Reformed Egyptian is somehow a very condensed written language. Holy shit! It was like the amount that he would have had to lift. You'd need a crane to be able to get these out of the ground.
Let's not forget the 116 pages of the Book of Lehi, which were lost. And we'll get to that in a minute.
We will.
But there's all of that, and which was that was the sealed portion, right?
Yeah.
So there's all of this extra material, which isn't even in the published Book of Mormon,
right?
That would have added, that much however many more printed pages.
It would be unliftable
because that would have been
maybe Moroni came down and helped him lift it. We just don't know about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now he's got these plates, and he's got to translate them.
Yes.
And get them readable for a modern day.
So he begins translating the gold plates with Emma, his wife, and her brother Reuben, acting as scribes.
Because all he's doing is staring at them and looking. And one of the methodologies described. Go ahead. I'll let you do this one.
He put the seer stones, the Urim and Thummim, in a hat, and then he would look. He would take the hat and he would look into it, and that's how he got the translation.
And this, to be clear, by the way, the plates aren't anywhere near him.
Right.
When he did this.
Right.
He looked into a hat, and it just told him what the plates said.
Right.
So he wasn't
why
looking.
Did he even need the plates in the first place?
Right. Exactly. But
anyhow,
but it's good to have them. They're good. They're good to have around,
and it's a beautiful image.
Yeah,
I just love the idea. In fact,
most
Trent
Mormons
Harris with Plan 10 from Outer Space,
the film,
the film that he did, has a really fun part of a guy with seer stones in his hat. Anyways,
the fact of the matter is that most Mormons don't even hear about the hat.
No.
Because there are other accounts of how he translated, including just going behind a curtain and yelling out to someone, to Oliver Cowdery or to whomever.
Yeah, absolutely. So he began, this is important, in December 1827.
According to them.
And let's see, it was not being published until 1829, August-ish. So it's like 2 years is what they're sort of officially saying.
I think the official statement is that the translation...
It wasn't printed. It wasn't actually announced to the public that the Book of Mormon had been published until 1830. I'm not sure quite what that means. But
I think the official story is that the translation occurred within 60 days. It only took 60 days to translate it.
Well, there's December 1827 to February 1828, and that's when it says begins translating the gold plates. And then in July of 1829, according to David Whitmer, the translation was completed on that same date, and Oliver Cowdery copies an entire second manuscript in case of robbery or destruction of the first. Now, that kind of brings me to a really important story that's not on this this is not the official list. This was on PBS's website, where we found this nice little timeline.
Right, because they had a documentary about called American Prophet.
Yeah, right. And but one of the things that's not mentioned there, but that is a really fun part of the story, and it's Mormons talk about it.
Mormons know this happened. Yeah, it's acknowledged.
And so one of Joseph Smith's supporters was this guy by the name of Martin Harris. And if you've ever watched the Mormon Story episode of South Park,
Right.
You're somewhat familiar with this. What is remarkable about that episode, by the way, is how incredibly accurate.
Yeah, they did
it
a
actually
good
is.
job.
They did a really good job researching it. So
It's the dumb episode.
yeah, and so Martin Harris was one of his supporters, and was actually one of the three witnesses of the Book of Mormon's Golden Plates.
Right.
And he, which means that he testified that he had actually seen them.
Right.
But his wife, Lucy Harris, wasn't so convinced.
Right. She remained
she,
skeptical.
She was a bit of a skeptic, and so at a certain point, Martin asked Joseph if he could borrow this 116-page manuscript of the first section of the Book of Mormon that he wanted to show to his wife. He felt that if she saw them,
she could just see the manuscript.
then
she would know that
she could read it. Yeah, that she would have a testimony.
Man, that guy must have been so whipped
Oh my
to have
God.
to explain himself to his wife
Oh my God,
like that.
So I don't know,
But-
all I know is that Mormons do not like Lucy Harris.
No.
Because what ends up happening is because Joseph Smith is reluctant to let him take the 116 pages. In fact, the Lord warned Joseph not to not do this.
Right.
That this was just not a good idea. I don't know why the Lord didn't say, "Hey, why don't you just make a copy
You're right.
of the manuscript and then you can do whatever
No.
the hell you want with it." But anyways, so Joseph Smith loaned the pages to Martin after a lot of cajoling and whatnot.
Dude,
and
my wife won't even sleep with me right now. I gotta show her this thing.
can
we just show her?
Actually, the perfect route to take with Joseph Smith.
Yeah,
as far as
yeah.
my wife won't sleep with me. Well,
He's like, oh, dude,
that's
that's
terrible.
Yeah, well, okay, take him.
yeah.
Take him. It's fine. I'm with you, bro. Bros before hoes, you know.
So the no matter what version of what happens next you believe, what is important
The
is
facts
that
of the case.
The facts of the case are there was no more manuscript after this event. There are those who blame Lucy Harris
Right.
for either intentionally or unintentionally losing them.
Didn't she say she did it intentionally? I thought she said
the book that says that kind of stuff didn't come out until a century later.
Okay. Well, what we know for sure is that he brought the manuscript home, showed her, it went missing. It done disappeared.
But
wait, this shouldn't be a problem.
This should not be a problem.
We've got the
because
plates.
You have the plates.
We've got the divining. We've got the Urim and Thummim.
Yeah. So just go
You
back.
can just Urimate all over it.
Yeah.
And we should be fine.
You should be fine. Well, the Lord was pissed.
Well, yeah.
And I can't remember the length of time, but it was a period of time where Joseph sort of lost the power. He lost the ability to translate, if I remember correctly.
Sure.
And so translation stopped for a spell.
Sure.
And as the Lord and Joseph figured out the right thing to do, because obviously, from my perspective and yours too, he's going to have a hard time. What if she's just put it in a safe somewhere?
Right. So
right?
the theory is,
so
he has to produce exactly the same thing,
word for word,
because if he doesn't, it kind of debunks the whole idea that that he's not just writing this shit.
Exactly.
That he's not making it
up as he goes.
Right.
And so, anyways, he sees the trap. He sees what's been laid out, and he figures out his course of action.
The Lord
tells him that I, the Lord, foresaw this.
Right. Yeah.
I knew that this was. I'm all-knowing. I knew this was going to happen, and so there's actually an abridgment included in the plates of everything that was in the book of Lehi. So just it's not going to be the 116 pages. You've lost so much that was so valuable and so important to the modern people and this modern era. Yeah. And so that was his workaround. So he, just from memory, was like, okay, well, I said that there were these people in Jerusalem, and he just like makes up a new one.
No, the Lord tells him the new abridged version.
Yeah.
And then and then suddenly we have it, and never again are we to hear those passages.
Those beautifully written passages from Lehi himself
Are lost to us forever.
They're lost to us. Well, not forever.
Oh,
come the millennium or in the fullness of times.
When we all get
all
to...
the closed books will be opened.
That's true.
And we'll have it.
But we don't...
So thank God for that. Thank God for because the test of that would have been too much.
Miss Harris.
And because then, what if he had actually produced the 116 pages perfectly? Then that would have been proof.
Right.
And God doesn't work with proof.
No.
There always has to be a test of your faith.
This life is a test.
Right. You can never know.
If you know,
something.
then the world falls apart and everything goes to hell. And
so anyways, that's kind of fun. That's fun
anyway,
stuff.
so and from all of this, eventually comes a book. And we have the Book of Mormon, and then
the Book of Mormon.
And they're off.
And they're off. So coming up on another episode of or another edition of What Mormons Believe, we'll actually get into a bit of the story of the Book of Mormon, which is
it's a peach,
delightful.
It's a doozy. But now you know where it came from.
Yeah,
it came from a hillside in Cumorah.
Yeah, and if you agree or disagree with anything that you've heard here, if we've gotten a piece of this story wrong, please give us a call at 424-666-TGIA. That's 424-666-8442.
Or go ahead and email us. It's podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
And that's how you can join the conversation.
Or you could email us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
No, it's true. It does say that.
Same thing.
Oh, my God.
All right.
Well,
thanks for listening.
Hope you enjoyed it, folks.
Yeah, have a good week, everybody.
And we'll see ya.